So I think to do the whole story justice, we have to take a little step back and understand that Sacagawea married the Canadian trapper at 13 against her will. Her husband, might I add, was already married to another native girl. We don't have a whole lot of information about her that I know of, but um, it was told that he bought them both, or that he won Sacagawea in a gambling situation. But either way, a few years later, he's interviewing with Lewis and Clark for a position for this expedition. And I feel very confident that he only got it because he was married to Sacagawea. Because part of his resume was that his wife could translate all the native languages because she was native. Uh, and and she was a guide and she could do all these things. She could broker peace as they went along, and so they gave him a position. Sacagawea and her husband moved to the fort with them, and she was pregnant. And as much as I would like to think she thought, wow, what an opportunity, I think the reality of it was that, much like her marriage, she was forced into it. Because who would want to do that? 6 months pregnant, set out across an unknown, uncharted territory. But she did it, and she delivered a baby, and she carried a newborn on her back, there and back. So for a few years after the voyage, she lived with a local. Both of them lived with the local tribe, and then one day, Clark sent an invitation to the couple, asking them to come live where he was at in St. Louis. So they accepted, and they also used that as an opportunity. Clark wanted to really invest in Jean-Baptiste, who was the son of Sacagawea. So he paid for the education, which was great. It was just a wonderful opportunity for him. And at the time, Jean-Baptiste was about 9 when they moved there. About a year later, we know that she had a daughter named Lizette. Unfortunately, what we know is that Clark adopted in 1813 both Jean-Baptiste and Lizette. We know that happened because Sacagawea died. She was only about 24. And we don't exactly know what happened to her, but she had an illness, and she died rather quickly. And their biological father, her husband, left. So Clark took it upon himself to take guardianship of the children. And then another blow comes to Jean-Baptiste. 10 years old, he's lost his mom, his father's gone, he's in a new place, he's getting educated, surrounded by people who aren't necessarily people he's used to. And then his sister dies. She's about sometime after turning 1. So that's a lot for a 10-year-old to deal with. But because of the journey he made with his mother as an infant, he had lifelong celebrity status. So much so that when he was 18, he befriended a prince, a German prince, who then took him to Europe. And he was there for years, living amongst royalty. So he had quite an adventurous life. And then while he was there, he had a child, a baby, who unfortunately passed away. And I guess that was too much for him. So he left Europe after his son died. And he came back to the United States, and he became a frontiersman. And then he was a magistrate. And then he led a battalion at one point. Or he guided a battalion, a Mormon battalion. And eventually he didn't like the way, when he was a magistrate, he did not like the way, and this is in California, and he was magistrate of a town this is like toward the ends of the gold rush, so in the end of the 1840s or so. And then he didn't like the way the natives were being treated, so he decided to become a hotel clerk. So that was a thing. He did that. So, um, but he wasn't done. In his early 60s, he went to go find fortune in Montana, um, but his body couldn't make the journey. So in Danner, Oregon, he got pneumonia and he passed away there, and that is where he was buried. So he had an adventurous life once he became an adult. He did a lot of interesting things, but he had a hard time there as a child. He had a lot of moving pieces, a lot of loss, I'm sure a lot of grief. Luckily for him, he had someone who was invested enough in his future that he didn't become a ward of the state, so to speak. He had someone who paid for his education, paid for his well-being, made sure he was very well taken care of, and adopted him as his own son, and William Clark. So anyway, um, sad times, but he overcame them to have an interesting life.